students, welcome back to our second session related to constructor and destructor chapter. Today we are going to discuss about parameterized constructor. In the last session we have seen what is a constructor, that definition and very important rules related to constructors. Then mainly three types of constructors: default, parameterized and copy constructor, that related discussion, as well as features of default constructor, syntax and example, different syntax and example related to constructor and default constructors we have seen. And after that, today we are going to discuss about parameterized constructor. It is actually second type of constructor. So what is a parameterized constructor? A parameterized constructor means a constructor that takes one or more argument. So always remember students, parameter means arguments. So whenever we will write class as ABC, when we have to write in public section, always we have to write a constructor in public section. If you are writing only ABC, open bracket, close bracket, which is followed by some set of statements or some initializing, that is called default constructor. But here we have to write some arguments. Argument means always we have to write inside bracket. So argument or parameter means same, that is why it is called parameterized constructor. So constructor with some argument. You know students, always constructor name should be same as class name. So whenever you will write class name as ABC, constructor name should also be same as ABC. And then second point says, using parameterized constructor, it is possible to initialize different objects with different initial values. See students, whatever drawback present in default constructor, that problem we can rectify using parameterized constructor. So main disadvantage of default constructor, it is not possible to initialize different set of values. Whenever you will create one object, just imagine ABC, A1 if I will create, only whatever value is assigned here, only that value it will take. It is not possible to give different set of values. Just imagine students like this, void main ABC, A1, A2. Just imagine I have created two objects related to class ABC, A1 and A2. So both A1 and A2 will take same set of values, that is 10 and 20 respectively, but it is not possible to give different initial values to different set of values to different objects. So that problem of default constructors can be rectified using parameterized constructor. That is why parameterized constructor is very important. So whatever drawback present in default can be rectified here. So this example you can see, this indicates parameterized constructor. Class name is given as test int a comma b, it is data members. This is declared in private section. If there is no access specifier is mentioned, by default it is private itself. And in public section you can see one constructor, test is a constructor name which is same as class name. In bracket you can see x and y. In bracket you can see x and y, that is two arguments, two parameters we are going to pass. And after that some initialization part we will do, that is a is equal to x and b is equal to y we are writing here. So this indicates parameterized constructor. So what is a parameterized constructor students? Always constructor with some arguments, constructor with some parameters. That means inside this bracket we have to write something. Some declaration part you can see, that is what parameter. So close flower bracket semicolon, it indicates end of class definition. And in void main section you can see test t, that means creating one object, and along with the object we are passing two values. So these two values, it will be automatically invoked by this particular constructor. So here test t, it indicates creation of object. Along with t we are passing two values 10 and 20. These values will be given to x and y respectively. So x will become 10 and y will be 20. So this x value is supplied to a here. So a will become 10 and y value, whatever value present in y, that will be passed to b, that will be given to b. So b will become 20. So, here values of A and B will be 10 and 20 respectively. Like this parameterized constructor works. So, always constructor with the argument is called as parameterized constructor. So, one more point they will say, using this constructor it is possible to initialize different objects with different values. This is actually advantage over default constructor. So, here you can see one small example program. Here you can understand how it will pass different set of values. So, in this example, data members are given as A and B. Int A comma B you can see, class name is given as test, and A and B are two data members. So, in public section, test followed by int x and int y you can see, that is actually arguments, two arguments we are going to pass, and A is equal to x and B equal to y. Some initializing we will do, and then close flower bracket semicolon, it indicates end of class definition. And in void main section you can see creation of object. We are going to create 3 objects with 3 different set of values. So, test T1 it passes 10 and 20 values to this parameterized constructor. So, here x and y will be 10 and 20, that value will be given to A and B. So, A will become 10 and B will be 20 in this case. Similarly, whenever I will create second object test T2, in that case 30 and 40 two values are passed to this parameterized constructor. So, x and y will be 30 and 40, these values are given to A and B. So, x will give that value to A and y will give that value to B. So, A and B will be 30 and 40. Similarly, when I will create third object T3, then 50 and 60 I will pass. That values are received by x and y. Once again it is a parameterized constructor, always it will receive values. So, x and y will be 50 and 60 respectively, and x will pass this value to A and y will give this value to B respectively. So, A and B will become 50 and 60. So, this is how parameterized constructor works. Always along with object we can pass some values, that values will be received by parameterized constructors. So, see students, next feature of parameterized constructor says, whenever parameterized constructors are invoked automatically. So, see, whenever object with arguments are created, then parameterized constructors are invoked automatically. So, this example you can see, in this int A comma B it indicates data member. In public section you can see constructor x and y with 2 arguments x and y, and A is equal to x and B equal to y. Some initializing we can see, and close flower bracket semicolon it indicates end of class definition. And in void main section we are going to create 3 objects T1, T2 and T3. Along with this we are passing arguments, that values we are going to supply. So, initially whenever you will create T1 object, it will be supplied to x and y. So, A and B will become 10 and 20, and second time whenever I will create T2 object, along with that 30 and 40 two values we are going to pass. So, here x and y will become 30 and 40, because of this A and B will become 30 and 40. And in third case, once again test T3 with 50 and 60 we are passing, again that value is given to x and y. So, x and y will become 50 and 60 respectively, that values are given back to A and B. So, A and B will become 50 and 60. So, invoked for T1, T2, T3 3 times with different values, that is possible. Actually, previous point in previous slide, whatever example is given and this is same, it indicates any number of times I can create object with different values it will take. That is actually advantage of parameterized constructor over default constructor. Similarly, next feature of parameterized constructor, it says the parameterized constructor can be overloaded. Hope you know what is overloading concept. Already in overloading function overloading chapter we have seen. So, what is a overloading concept? Mainly see, overloading, in the 2 types of overloading concepts are there, operator overloading as well as function overloading. What is a function overloading? Function overloading means same function name can have different argument list. That means number of arguments are different, or type of argument it should vary. That is what function overloading concept. Similarly, here constructor can also be overloaded. That means same constructor name should be there, along with that inside bracket we should have different argument list. That means number of arguments should differ, or else type of argument should differ. It should vary. That is what overloading concept. They will say parameterized constructor can be overloaded. Default constructors cannot be overloaded. Why? Because in bracket we will not having any values, no arguments present in bracket. Whenever arguments are present, then only overloading concept works. That is why parameterized constructor is having arguments. So based on number of arguments and type of argument, we can say parameterized constructor overloading. In this example, clearly we can see how it can be overloaded. See, class name is given as test with two data members A and B, and in public section you can see test int x, that means only one argument is written. So test is a constructor name here, which is same as class name. It is actually first constructor in this example program. It is test int x, means a constructor with only one argument is written here. So initializing we will do here, a is equal to x, one initializing part we will do, and here one more constructor we can see, a constructor with two arguments we can see, int x comma int y, two arguments constructor we can see, a is equal to x and b is equal to y, initializing part also here we can observe, which is followed by close flower bracket semicolon. It indicates end of class definition, and then in void main section test T1 of 10. Here only one value we are going to pass along with this object. That means matching constructor it will search. Your compiler will search for matching constructor part. So here only one value is present. That is why it will go to this particular first constructor part. So x will become 10 because only one argument is present here. So x will become 10. That x value will be given to a. So in this example, a value will be 10. Similarly, when I will execute second object, when program control will move to second object, test T2, it contains two values, that is 20 and 40. That means automatically it will search for matching constructor. Here it will get its matching. That means two argument constructor is written, because here also you can see two values. That matching constructor will be invoked. So x will become 20 and y will become 40 respectively. So here that x and y value will be passed to a and b. So x is given to a. So a will become 20 and b will become 40. So that is why constructor overloading concept here you can see with this small example program, and here T1 object will take value a equal to 10, and T2 object will take two values, that is a equal to 10 and b equal to 20. That is what constructor overloading concept. And after this, one more feature we can see related to parameterized constructor. This says for an object created with one argument, constructor with only one argument is invoked and executed, and so on. That means any number of arguments we can have. So object with one argument, always it will search for constructor with one argument. Similarly, whenever I will create one object with two values, then it will search for its matching constructor with two arguments. Like that it works. In this example program, clearly we can understand how it works. So see students, here class name is given as test with two data members a and b. Here no access specifier is mentioned. That means by default it is private access specifier, and in public section always we have to write a constructor. So here you can see one constructor with one argument, that is test int x, and one initialization a is equal to x we will do, and one more constructor you can see here, test int x comma int y. That means constructor with two arguments you can see. So initialization a is equal to x and b equal to y we will do, and close flower bracket semicolon, it indicates end of class definition. And in void main section we are creating two objects here, test T1 in bracket 10 we are passing and test T2 20 and 40 we are passing. So, whenever I will create first object, constructor with one argument is invoked, see like this. Similarly, whenever I will create second object, here constructor with two argument is invoked. That is why always remember students, along with object how many values we will pass, along with object how many arguments we will pass, based on that it will search for required type of constructor. That is important. Just imagine if I will write test T3 of 30, 40, 50, then it should match for constructor with 3 arguments, understood? Like that it works, that is what they are saying in this particular feature. And in the next feature of parameterized constructor, they will say the parameterized constructors can have default arguments and default values. That related example is already given initially, but once again I will give one small logic so that you can understand. Sample, just imagine this is one constructor name with 2 arguments, int A and int B. So, here int A, this is one default argument, and int B is equal to 10 with some default values also you can see. So, a constructor, a parameterized constructor can have some default arguments and default values. That is possible. That is what they are saying in this feature. So, all these features once again we will glance and we will go forward. So, in that first point they will say, using parameterized constructor it is possible to initialize different objects with different values. So, see students, whatever drawback present in default constructor, that drawback is it is not possible to initialize different set of values using default constructor. So, any number of objects we can create in case of default constructor, but it is not possible to supply different set of values to each objects. Whereas, in parameterized constructor it is possible. That means, drawbacks of default constructors can be rectified using parameterized constructor. That is what point number 1 says. And then second point, second feature says parameterized constructors are also invoked automatically whenever object with arguments are created. See students, you know, whenever we will create one object, automatically default constructor is called. But whenever one object with some values are created, test T1 of 10, if I will write, automatically constructor will move for that matching parameterized constructor. So, whenever you will create one object, just object if you will create, then automatically default constructor will be invoked. Whenever we will create object with some values inside bracket, then automatically parameterized constructor will be invoked by compiler. Then third feature says parameterized constructors can be overloaded. You know what is overloading? What is constructor overloading? Same constructor name we can have with different argument list. A constructor name should be same, but it should differ in number of argument, or else it should differ in type of arguments. That is what overloading concept. That also we have seen with the example. Next feature says, for an object created with one argument, constructor with only one argument is invoked and executed. So, based on number of argument present, based on number of values present along with the object, that particular matching parameterized constructor should be invoked by compiler. That is what next feature says. And then last feature, it indicates parameterized constructor can have default arguments and default values. You know what is default means? Only parameterized constructors can have some values. Inside parameterized constructor, inside one constructor, we can have some arguments, or else along with that argument we can have some value. That option is also provided here. That related example already given and explained, hope you understood. After seeing all these features as well as definition, syntax and example related to parameterized constructor, next we will move to this important concept that is called invoking methods of parameterized constructor. Mainly 3 methods are there to invoke parameterized constructor. First method is implicit call, second method is explicit call, and third method is initialization of object during declaration with assignment operator equal to symbol. So, assignment operator means equal to symbol, that we have to remember. So, these three methods we have to see one by one. This is actually very important. Any one method they can ask for 5 marks for examination. So, let me see one by one. So, first method is implicit call method. This is actually invoking method. Parameterized constructors can be invoked using 3 methods. In that first method is implicit call method. So, first of all we should remember its syntax. Its syntax is class name, object name, argument list. What is implicit call method? If they will ask in examination, first you remember this syntax, class name followed by object name, then argument list inside parenthesis, semicolon. So, whatever syntax is present here, same thing as a sentence we have to write in examination. So, it's sentence we have to create. So, whatever you can see in this syntax, same thing as a sentence we can write. So, in implicit call method, class name is followed by declaration of an object. Declaration means object name we have to mention, which is followed by argument list, which is enclosed inside parenthesis. Parenthesis means bracket. So, whatever syntax is present here, that same thing as a text we have to write. After this, one example program you have to remember. So, what is implicit call method? First syntax you have to remember, class name followed by object name in bracket argument list, that is called parenthesis terminated with semicolon symbol. So, same thing as a text I have written. Now, I will see one example program which is related to implicit call method. In this example you can see class name is given as num, num, with the data members A and B, which is defined in private section, data member int A comma B. And then in public section you can see one parameterized constructor, that is num, that is same as class name. This indicates a constructor, there is no return type, and int p comma int q, 2 arguments are passed, that is p and q, both are of type integer, and that values are given to A and B. This is called initializing. A is equal to p, B is equal to q, and then void display. So, whatever values we will supply, that we can display with this display member function. This is actually member function, and this part indicates constructor. So, num inside public section, whatever is written, this num part it indicates a constructor, and this part indicates a member function, and close flower bracket semicolon, it indicates end of class definition. And in void main section you can see these 2 special lines which indicates implicit call method. So, according to implicit call method, that syntax we need to follow, class name followed by object name followed by argument list. Here class name is num, same thing we have to write, and object name is given as obj1. This is actually object name in this case, and 10 and 20, 2 arguments we are going to pass. So, this argument whatever we will give here, this will be transferred to its matching constructor. So, p and q, it will receive this value. So, p will become 10 and q will be 20 in this case. So, that same value of p and q is received by A and B. So, A will become 10 and B value will be 20 in this case. So, this is how implicit call method works. So, this syntax we have to remember here. And while creating second object obj2, again same syntax, class name followed by object name is obj2 with 2 arguments 40 and 50, 2 values we are passing here, 40 and 50. So, second time our constructor will receive value 40 and 50. So, p and q will be 40 and 50 respectively, and these values are given to A and B. So, A will become 40 and B will be 50 in this case. So, finally, we are going to display the result. So, first constructor using obj1 dot display. So, obj1 dot display, here it will call this member function. So, display, it will display cout A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 20, like that display first result. And in the case of second constructor using obj2 second object, it will display 40 and 50 respectively, because see, second object using obj2 it will transfer two values 40 and 50, it will be received by P and Q, then it will be given to A and B. So, obj2 holds 40 and 50 respectively. So, display function will display A is equal to 40 and B is equal to 50. So, this is what output of this program. So, in that output we can see first constructor A is equal to 10 and B equal to 20 it will display, and second constructor using second constructor it will display A is equal to 40 and B is equal to 50. And after that, after completing that first method, so in that first implicit call method we have to remember that syntax class name followed by object name and argument list which is enclosed inside parenthesis terminated with semicolon symbol. So, similar syntax, one more method we can see, explicit call method. This is actually second method of invoking parameterized constructor. Its syntax we have to remember. So, see students, first of all we have to remember syntaxes, and using this syntaxes we have to frame our own sentences, and then one example program we have to remember. This is also important for 5 marks. Now, syntax of explicit call, it indicates class name followed by object name is equal to constructor name, then argument list which is enclosed inside parenthesis, then terminated with semicolon symbol. So, what extra we can see here? In previous case, in implicit call method, class name followed by object name, then directly argument list we have written. In this case, is equal to and constructor name, this is what additional we can see in this particular syntax. So, whatever we can observe in this syntax, same thing we have to write as a statement right now. So, see, in explicit call method, class name which is followed by declaration of object. Declaration of object means object name we have to specify, and then which is followed by assignment operator. Assignment operator means equal to symbol, and then constructor name, and then constructor name means which is same as class name. Constructor and class name should be same, and then argument list should be enclosed inside parenthesis, and finally it should be terminated with semicolon. While seeing example program we will understand this syntax clearly, while writing we will find it bit difficult. So, in this example program we can see explicit call method. See, whatever example is given for implicit call method, that same example we have to remember for explicit call method also. What change you can see only in this void main section, 2 lines whatever is highlighted in yellow color, that 2 lines, in that 2 lines we can see one small change, that is it. Other things are same. So, here also class name is given as num. This is actually explicit call method of invoking parameterized constructor. In this, class name is same num, then in private section 2 data members you can see A and B, and in public section constructor you can see with 2 arguments and some initializing part same as implicit call method, and display function also given close semicolon. And in void main section here in these 2 lines we can see one small change compared to implicit call method. This is actually explicit call method. So, what is the syntax of explicit call method? Class name followed by object name is equal to constructor name followed by argument list. So, that syntax should match here. That means class name is given as num which should match, and obj1 is given as object name which is followed by equal to symbol or assignment operator we have to write, and once again which is followed by num, that indicates a constructor name, and finally argument list which is enclosed inside bracket. 10 and 20, 2 arguments we are passing here, or 2 values we are supplying here, terminated with semicolon. So, what it will indicate? Automatically this will pass these 2 values to this parameterized constructor. So, P and Q will become 10 and 20. Because of this initializing, A and B will become 10 and 20 in this case, because P and Q it will pass these values to A and B. That is why using obj1, obj1 will hold values 10 and 20. Similarly, after execution of obj1 first object, it will move to second object obj2, program control will move to second object. So, once again same syntax we can see, class name, that is NUM, followed by object name is obj2, assignment operator, that is equal to symbol we can see, then NUM, that is constructor name, and then 40 and 50, two values we are going to pass. The same thing will be passed to this constructor. So, P and Q will become 40 and 50, and it will be initialized to A and B. So, A and B will become 40 and 50 with the help of obj2. And finally, two messages we are going to display, that is first constructor obj1 dot display. Whenever you will write object name dot member function name, automatically program control will move to particular member function. This is actually syntax for calling member function. So, obj1 dot display will call first member function related answer. So, A equal to 10 and B equal to 20 it will display, and second constructor, that is obj2, it will hold value 40 and 50. So, obj2 dot display, it will display A is equal to 40 and B is equal to 50 respectively. So, this is how explicit call method works. So, its output also we will observe here, that is first constructor A equal to 10 and B equal to 20 it will display, and second constructor it will display A is equal to 40 and B is equal to 50 respectively. This is how second method of invoking parameterized constructor works. This is called explicit call method. The main thing students, main difference is in implicit call method, object name, class name, object name, argument list directly we have to mention inside parenthesis, whereas in this explicit call method, syntax is class name, object name is equal to constructor name, then argument list inside parenthesis, terminated with semicolon. So, that syntaxes we have to compare and we have to study, then easily we can remember, because see same example we can remember for both implicit and explicit call method. Only in these two lines we can see one small difference, that is it. Similarly, third method of invoking parameterized constructor, that is initialization object during declaration with assignment operator in the sense equal to symbol. So, its syntax also we have to see, class name, object name is equal to value. Directly we are passing one value. See, in this case class name followed by object name is equal to symbol and value we are going to give, terminated with semicolon symbol. So, in this method declaration is followed by assignment operator and value to be initialized. So, same thing whatever you can see in this syntax as a sentence we have written. In this method, declaration means class name followed by object name, that is called declaration, which is followed by assignment operator equal to symbol and value to be initialized. Only single value we can initialize. You can see in this point, in this method it is possible to initialize exactly one argument. That means this method is used for constructor with exactly one argument. It is not possible to give set of values. So, this is actually third method of invoking parameterized constructor with the help of equal to symbol, but here only one value we can pass, not possible to give set of values. So, in this example clearly we can understand how this third method of invoking parameterized constructor works. Here you can see same example class num, but in private section only one data member is present, that is int A, and in public section you can see one constructor with only one argument, that is num int m. So, m is the argument, it is of type integer, A is equal to m. Here you can see one initializing part, and in void display here we are going to display the value whatever is present in this particular object that we are going to display with this display member function. Close semicolon, flower bracket semicolon, it indicates end of class definition, and in void main section you can see creation of object. Here these two line indicates third method of initializing, third method of invoking parameterized constructor. So, what is the syntax? Declaration of object, that means class name followed by object name, which is followed by assignment operator equal to symbol, and then only one value we can give. In this example, whatever is highlighted in yellow color, there you can see third method, third syntax you can see, that is class name num, obj1 is the object name, equal to symbol, and 100 only one value we are going to pass. So, whenever you will give like this, automatically program control will move to constructor, matching constructor it will search. So, here it will come and it will assign that value to variable m. So, value of m will become 100. So, that value will be passed to a. So, a will become 100 in the first case. Similarly, whenever I will create second object obj2 with same syntax, class name object name is equal to value, that syntax we have to follow here. So, whenever I will write this step, automatically program control will move to matching constructor part, and m will become 200, that value will be passed to variable a. So, a will become 200. So, while displaying object 1 is equal to obj1.display function will be called, automatically a value will be displayed as 100, and obj2 is equal to 200 it will display, because obj2.display means once again whatever value obj2 second object holds, that value we are going to display with the help of display member function. So, here obj1 is equal to 100 and obj2 will be 200 in that example you can see. So, see students, this is actually third method of invoking parameterized constructor. So, parameterized constructors can be invoked using three methods: implicit call method, explicit call method, and initializing using declaration, initializing using equal to symbol or assignment operator. So, that three syntaxes we have to remember clearly. After that, using that syntax we have to create our own sentences, and after that, that related example program we can remember. So, it is easy to remember and important also for examination, especially this any one method they can ask for 5 marks. That is why it is important. Yes, that is end of our second session. So, in this session we have seen what is a parameterized constructor, importance of parameterized constructor, syntax as well as example related to parameterized constructor, and then few features related to parameterized constructors, as well as three methods of invoking parameterized constructor. This is also important. So, mainly feature they can ask for 2 or 3 marks, and then definition they can ask related to parameterized constructor, and then this method of invoking parameterized constructor, any one method they can ask for 5 marks. That is why it is important for examination point of view, this parameterized constructor section. So, that is end of our second session, students. So, in the next session we are going to do copy constructor, because mainly 3 types of constructors we have seen: default, parameterized and copy constructor part. So, in the next session we will come with copy constructor part. Thank you, students.